In a culture that's bereft of elders, how can a young person induce an older person who may be reluctant or resistant or reflexively defensive to undertake the work of elderhood?
Well, the operative part of the question, the kind of universal joint of your question is that that's what they should be doing. Because, of course, you've been reading stuff, I've been writing about it. And that's where the question comes from, I recognize it. So you have to go a long way to get there, right? I mean, we're starting at a standing start, given where we are now, with young people's understanding of older people and older people's understanding of themselves. It's a standing start. And this is not operative. You know, your question is not operative in the culture generally. The notion that I floated in the book that older people are not in the elder making business. I mean, this is shocking to older people because they imagine this is their purview. This is the last thing left to them, as if they sit in a room and kind of self-designate or something. Well, I mean, I'm telling you that this is actually what happens. I was interviewed years ago by an operation, they call themselves Elder Radio. So I didn't see them, you know, we're all on just audio, but I noticed as there was 3 of them interviewing me, and as they were generating their questions and so on, they were often using the word elder to refer to each other. So after the 3rd question, I think I asked one of them, you keep using the word elder to describe yourselves. Yes. How did that happen? And they said, what? Well, how did you get this designation? Where did it come from? Very flippantly said, oh, we just decided to call each other that because nobody else was. Whoa. So you're compensating for the gross inability of the culture to recognize in you and yours the function of elderhood by short-circuiting the whole arrangement. You know, brushing that whole part of the population to the curb, and you're left with your little generational increment and anointing each other as you go. What's that called? Jonestown is what it's called. Jonestown, right? You designate each other as the elect because nobody else gets it. So here's the news. Elderhood is not a consequence of older people saving each other from neglect by designating each other that way. The functions of elderhood are determined by the culture, not by the elder. The elder, in that sense, is the tail on the end of the cultural kite, you see. And as the culture goes and fails to go, the responsibilities of the elder become inscribed upon them. And the frailties and the dementednesses of the times become the marching orders of the elder. Elderhood is not a place to take refuge from the sacrilege of the time you were born to. Elderhood becomes an iteration of sacredness in an era of sacrilegiousness. How? To turn back towards the place that gives you no recognition. That's how. Not to try to get recognized. So, in the time that I was born in, which basically, the most neutral term I can use to describe it is elder-free. I was born into an elder-free time and place, and it remains principally that. In a time virtually bereft of elders, what's the elder function? It's going to sound strange, but I think the elder function is not to be an elder come what may. The elder function in a time where elders are compromised is the recognition of elderhood, not the self-acclaimed status, the recognition of it in your midst. So the principal responsibility that elders have now, I'd say, is to acknowledge elderhood when they see it, even though it's not them. And to sustain elderhood in their midst, even though they're not the beneficiaries of it. And to be willing to acknowledge elderhood and to praise it and to plead for it without being included in that number. Is it selfless? No, it's village-minded. And here's the twist. In an elder-free time, if you are willing to acknowledge the scraps and the shreds of elderhood when you see them, mysteriously, the willingness to do that alchemically becomes an act of elderhood. See? It slips beneath the intention. It slips beneath the attempt to be included. As long as you're not trying to be included, but to sustain its presence, you mysteriously become included. It's the wildest arrangement, you know. For all the wrong reasons, you do the right thing. Yeah. So now, what's the place of younger people in the arrangement I've just been talking about? There is acknowledging, as I said, the shreds of elderhood as they drift through the room from time to time, which is not a common occurrence. And then there is the willingness to seek it out. And I think that's the young person's responsibility. And it's as counterintuitive as what I just said about the responsibility of an older person. A younger person's responsibility in an elder bereft time is to seek it out. Like turn over every rock and so on. No, in a much more mundane fashion. To seek it out. But you just said that the time is elder bereft. Yes. So then what are they supposed to seek out? Elderhood. What? Is it, do you want from me a recipe or do you want from me an answer? As I don't have a recipe, but this is the answer that I know. There's others, but I don't know what they are. But I know this one. The responsibility of young people is to proceed as if the possibility of elderhood remains. And to seek it out, yes, for their personal benefit, absolutely. They're not seeking out for the sake of the elder. They're seeking it out for the sake of their own guidance, their own peace of mind, their own sense of sanity, to try to keep their give a shit intact. Certainly, all those things. In others, the motivation's entirely different from the older person. You can hear it's a different architecture with a different set of expectations. Why? Because self-absorbedness belongs to young people. So this is not a recipe for getting rid of it. This is a recipe for acting on it. And one of the great mysteries is, if you're self-absorbed enough to seek out elderhood for your own sake, even when there's virtually no proof or evidence that there's elderhood out there, your willingness to seek it has a kind of alchemical consequence. Because the older people on the receiving end of your search experience your search as mysteriously enabling of their capacity to begin to resemble what it is you're seeking as a young person, do you see? Who could ever have arranged this kind of redemptive vision in the midst of the total breakdown of the transmission of wisdom from one generation to the next? Who could have? I don't know. I didn't invent it, but I believe I've recognized it, you know? And none of this on the surface would seem to make any sense. All that means is it's not guaranteed. That's right. So what is it? Is it an experiment? No, it's not an experiment. It's a moral and psychic obligation. And the obligations are different generationally. The young person's responsibility is to seek it out with no proof or assurance that it's there. And the older person's responsibility is to be willing to affirm its presence when they catch wind of it. And no one in the arrangement is claiming to be what anybody else is looking for. Nobody in the arrangement is saying, you know, like this famous dude from around here, look, I'm not your guru. Now make a movie about me. Nobody's saying that. Everybody's saying, it's like the Holy Grail thing. What is it? Who is it? Where is it? What does it do? Nobody knows. Well, why are we looking for it then? I don't know. It seems to be in the order of the times. That our responsibility is not to have the Holy Grail. It's to seek it. And the willingness to seek it might become the Grail that we're seeking. That combination of grief-informed willingnesses turns into the vessel that holds the wine, that sustains the people, that gives them a reason to plant the vines. So that, you see, it's an entirely a redemptive vision, not a vision of immediate psychic satisfaction in this moment. If you're willing to work on behalf of a better day, you become the better day, but not for you. For those who find out that you are willing to do it. That's the strange alchemy that I'm selling door to door.
Thank you, Stephen.
Very stirring, isn't it?
Extremely
It gets
stirring
to you,
stuff.
doesn't it?
It does.
That's how you know it's for real.
Yeah, it's good to be disturbed.
I don't know
in
if
that
it's
way.
right, in the sense of like blow by blow accurate. Because it's not exactly as if I've seen years and years and waves of people undertaking what I've just described to you. But you could feel the consequence of entertaining the possibility simply because I was saying it. And it had consequence for you just to imagine that it could be so. And the consequence was what? Did you sit there and go, bullshit? No, you couldn't. No, you couldn't. Why? Well, because partly you're probably a right-hearted guy. But a bigger reason is because that notion had its way with you for a couple of minutes. And some part of you said, even if it's not true, it should be true. And that should might be enough for now. And that's undeniable stuff. And it's grief that comes through you when you entertain the possibility that it could be otherwise. And that grief becomes the enabler. Right? Not the sense that it can be so, but the sense that it must be so, whether it can or not. And suddenly you're more alive than you were when we sat down to talk about it.